Agriculture is integral to the success of South Africa's National Development Plan. It is the primary economic activity in rural areas and has the potential to create around 1 million new jobs by 2030. But it currently contributes a mere 2% of the national GDP, and its benefits remain restricted to an elite.
And if you look in South Africa today, that one of the most vulnerable groups of poor people in this country are farm workers and people living on farm.
Nestled in the Cape Winelands district, the Witzenberg region is world-renowned primarily for producing export-quality deciduous fruit, vegetables and wine products. But it is also a landscape of contradictions, home to the wealthiest farmers in the country, juxtaposed against informal settlements and impoverished communities.
If we export all the things that are coming from the valley, I mean, what food security are you talking about? 1 in every 4 families, I mean, they go and sleep hungry. So the same people who are producing the food, they go and sleep without food. So, I mean, if we're serious about agrarian transformation and having a new agenda for agrarian reform in this country, we need to redistribute the land, the resources and all the things that is needed to improve the lives and the livelihoods of poor people, in particular farm workers and farm dwellers.
Ceres is the largest town of the Witzenberg local municipality and its administrative centre. A few kilometres away is the town of Vista. Established during apartheid, it remains scarred by chronic unemployment and poverty.
I mean, it just provides labour to big capital agriculture in the Ceres Valley. So, I mean, that's, if you look at the planning of the town and also the geography and the social infrastructure, I mean, just a dormitory town, I mean, where you get labour from.
On the outskirts of Bella Vista is an abattoir. Now called the Ceres Abattoir, it used to be called Osdam, and at the peak of its productivity, it employed 100 workers from the local community. But it is now mired in controversy, and it has caused bitterness and suspicion in the town of Bella Vista and beyond, where the few community members willing to speak out will do so only on condition of anonymity.
From what we knew about the abattoir and its future, it would be a project to uplift the community and eradicate poverty, leaving a legacy for our families and our children. But now it seems it was just a dream.
In 2015, the Osdam Abattoir was put up for sale.
The reason why they sell it because they wanted to move to Paarl. It's nearer to Cape Town, so if they can move to Paarl, the costing will be less.
The municipality also has a problem with the previous owners about the disposal of the waste because it was going into stormwater drains and the fruit factories were using that water for their factories.
In October 2015, the Witzenberg municipality approached the Western Cape branch of the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development to purchase it.
Our concern then for the abattoir was that if the abattoir is closed, there will be jobs that will be lost. There would be about 100 individuals and obviously subsequently families that won't be employed.
The plan was supposedly to make the abattoir galvanize Witzenberg's Agri-Park program, providing a one-stop shop for agro-production, marketing and training.
In terms of, I mean, the intention of the agri-parks, I don't think, I mean, they've actually succeeded, in my view, in what they actually set out to do, because still, if you look at farm workers and most marginal people in the Witzenberg municipality, I mean, they're not included as part of the beneficiaries of this project.
And how feasible would the purchase of an abattoir be in a region recognized mainly for fruit production?
After the department has done the process of feasibility and due diligence and subsequently purchasing the abattoir, the role of the municipality as part of the agri-hub was then to propose a structure.
In September 2016, The Western Cape branch of the Department of Rural Development requested approval from the National Development Allocation Committee to purchase the abattoir for just under 14 million rand, as well as an additional 6 million rand to cover the running and overhead costs. The request for national approval, drafted by the provincial department, paints a picture of a black empowerment project that would benefit both the farming and working class communities of Bella Vista and surrounds. In addition to receiving training, they would own shares in the business. Being the first black-owned abattoir in the area would encourage South African retailers to champion the purchase of its meat products in terms of BEE scoring. And in addition to being marketed locally, the abattoir would export to the rest of the continent and the Middle East.
The workers from the previous abattoir would be the first to get the shares there. The youth would be trained to work at the abattoir as managers and marketing people. They would bring in other products like logistics. It was a great project and we were really excited.
They said that we will be beneficiaries, shareholders, we will be part of the place. We work for ourselves at the end of the day.
But the principal beneficiaries of the Ceres abattoir turned out not to be the workers or the locals. Included in the request for approval to fund the project, the Western Cape branch states that the beneficiaries are a group of informal farmers called the Daytona cattle farmers and a women's empowerment group known as Women in Agriculture, who would ultimately be registered as the Yabantu abattoir. One of the members is Lungelwa Sigasana, a prominent businesswoman with companies registered in both Gauteng and Cape Town.
I am an informal farmer, or was an informal farmer. How this came about is that an uncle within the traditional council that I'm part of encouraged me to buy some little stock and to start investing if I have access cash, because we always try and get groomed in that way, as opposed to just investing our monies if we have a little bit in banks and other businesses. How about I give it a try?
According to Sigasana and the municipality, the Daytona cattle farmers had originally been offered ownership of a cattle feedlot that was going to be established on a stud farm called Daytona, just outside Ceres. The Department of Rural Development was supposed to buy a portion of the farm for this purpose, but supposedly the deal fell through.
However, there is a different opportunity which then this group, this newly formed group, and at the stage it wasn't even registered, will be forwarded an opportunity for an abattoir.
The municipality interviewed with the department, Stellenbosch branch as well as Department of Agriculture in our council chambers, those beneficiaries for the Daytona.
How many beneficiaries did you interview?
It was a lot of people that were interviewed for the Daytona.
Under the helm of Sigasana, an entity called the Yabantu Abattoir was established. Sigasana was the majority shareholder. The Yabantu manager had a 5% share, and the workers were promised more than 20% shareholding. But that never happened.
Yabantu was appointed to be the implementing agent. There would be a board that would be facilitated or coordinated between Witzenberg and the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform.
But 3 years and 20 million rands later, the Ceres abattoir has closed down under a cloud, and the workers have not been paid since July this year.
No one is in contact with us. We can't even go there because they locked us out. There's securities of the government. I don't know how can they work like this.
Promoted as an empowerment project for workers and emerging farmers, the Ceres Abattoir has become a landmark of disempowerment. But why did it fail? And who is to blame? Well, that depends on who you ask and who is willing to answer.
We don't get any answers from them. They don't come to us. We need to go to them. See, and the other problem is we don't know if we are retrenched or what are we in this business of this project, so we can get our papers. If they can just say that we are they can let us go, give us our papers so we can withdraw our money, our UIF. We can't even do that.
Departmental whistleblowers are speaking out, but at great personal risk, they say. We have disguised their identity and used voice-over artists to protect them.
The acquisition was corrupt from the start. The offer to purchase by the Western Cape Chief Director was made long before approval from the National Office was granted. It was a political project set up to benefit a few players, and it went ahead in spite of due diligence findings and surveys that raised red flags about the abattoir's feasibility.
Expenditure tends not to be done through the normal procurement processes. In fact, the norm actually is a violation of policy.
The simplest way of attempting to unpack what went wrong and why is to examine the various entities involved.
Where the role of the municipality ended is when the municipality proposed the structure, and the structure was submitted by the municipality to the department.
What has emerged from this debacle is a chain of mismanagement and irregularity whereby processes were allegedly flouted deliberately by officials.
It will be strange that they say it didn't receive the requisite approval. And then those are the department's processes that is very much surprising to hear, because the feasibility study was done by them. I think it's best that you also engage the head of department. It will be those answers you should get. But as far as we are concerned as the municipality, there has been a feasibility study.
The Department of Rural Development has not responded, but documents confirm that in several of the feasibility studies, experts warned the National Department that the abattoir was not a viable proposition in the first place.
I think there's been a disconnection between province and national. And I think that actually is the unfortunate poor relationship within the department.
The irregularities culminated in a forensic investigation and a disciplinary hearing conducted from November 2017 to April 2018. A department official, Lubabalo Mbekeni, was dismissed for misconduct and for diverting resources earmarked for the poor into the pockets of the rich.
No one knows who's next. People are suspended and investigated and then reinstated to keep them from exposing the corruption.
In a previous episode, broadcast on the 15th of October, Special Assignment had published a letter by Corruption Watch to the Minister of Rural Development demanding an investigation into the abuse of disciplinary processes. We were subsequently contacted by Mr. Mbekeni, who explained he had won his appeal against his dismissal and had been legitimately reinstated. Special Assignment invited him to comment further, but he did not respond. By September 2017, the abattoir was in deep water. The Department of Rural Development had already defaulted on payments to the municipality and the workers.
All of a sudden, after a month or two, they didn't pay any money through to us.
Unanswered questions also revolve around the so-called beneficiaries, the Daytona cattle farmers. The Witzenberg municipality insists that advertisements were placed and beneficiaries interviewed at the Stellenbosch office of rural development, but department whistleblowers dispute this.
They talk about it, but we know that there wasn't officially a meeting or proper paperwork that said these people would be legitimate beneficiaries.
In fact, the disciplinary hearing concluded that the Daytona farmers did not even exist at the time of the establishment of the abattoir, as they had been liquidated in 2015. One of the directors of Yabantu, Susie Teto, was forced to resign after it emerged that she was an official of the Western Cape government. She did not respond to Special Assignment's requests for comment.
The beneficiaries are used as smokescreens. The real beneficiaries are politicians and their proxies, intent on grabbing as much land, power and money as they can.
Another player in the increasingly messy lineup at this Ceres Abattoir is the National Agricultural Marketing Council, or NAMC. The Pretoria-based body says it was established to uplift black emerging livestock farmers and to encourage their integration into commercial agriculture. The NAMC was brought onto the abattoir by the Department of Rural Development in February 2017 to be the implementing agent and apparently to fix irregularities in the beneficiary selection.
To some point, they actually even wanted to then come with the address of saying there's a beneficiary process reselection that needs to take place, which I did not dispute. I mean, I said to them, look, if there's a process and this is what you're advising, just please formally educate us how this process is going to be and what brings it about and what details it and in what form will it take place.
To this end, it established a new entity called Nomi Kagri, but with the same directors as in the previous Yabantu entity. The NAMC had been provided with the 6 million rand required to keep the abattoir operating, but it withheld 5% as a so-called management fee, it claims, and it exited the project in February 2018 without any skills transfer or alteration to the beneficiary structure.
If they had not held back the money and wanted to dictate on terms that we could not agree upon, by now we would not have been sitting with whatever the amount that they say is left within their kitty. We would have grown that kitty.
The NAMC insists it does not owe the abattoir any funds, and department officials partially blame the closure of the Ceres Abattoir on the excessive financial demands of its CEO, Sigasana.
The money was stopped because she was paying herself exorbitant salaries. That money was meant for acquisition of livestock to make it more operational.
That's not true. They had a full indication of what the salary would be. Right. And I never stopped the process. If I wanted more salary or I did not want to continue working, I would not even be here post the 2 years that they left us on the site.
In the 2017 to 2018 disciplinary hearing, Juanita Fortuin, the Chief Director of the Western Cape, who spearheaded the AgriPark project, claimed ignorance of how the beneficiary selection had been done.
I'm quite interested to understand her role as the Chief Director of a department who has actively, physically and otherwise participated in the project and then comes up at the end when things stand to still like this and make such utterances. It's quite confusing actually and very concerning.
Sigasana has since threatened legal action.
I have received no response, no acknowledgement. I'm sure you can see who the letter is addressed to.
The other significant role player in the Ceres Abattoir is a prominent attorney in Witzenberg by the name of Gerrit van Vuren. He has acted on behalf of every stakeholder in this project.
From the beginning he was there. And at some point I heard he's gone and I don't know where he's going.
In fact, the so-called beneficiaries, the Daytona cattle farmers, were promoted under the umbrella of Van Vuren's own agricultural initiative called PALS, or Partners in Agri-Land Solutions. This is a private sector shareholding scheme devised between wealthy white commercial farmers and emerging black farmers, supposedly to accelerate land reform. But it is also not controversy-free.
The black farmers only be able, to buy into this project after 10 years, to buy shares in these businesses, while from day one, the white farmers are getting shares in the businesses. For now, I think, there should be a forensic investigation into all these farm worker equity schemes.
Van Vuren refused to be interviewed, but his specific alleged stake in the abattoir will form the basis of a future episode. Today, the abattoir is no longer the potential cash cow it was supposed to be, but a white elephant. Yet at some point, it was operational. In November 2017, the premises of Tommy's Abattoir in the town of Riebeek Kasteel, 50 kilometers away, were destroyed by a fire. This created an opportunity for the Ceres Abattoir to rent the premises to Tommy's for almost 18 months.
By November month, Tommy's coming to the picture, and then Tommy's bring light to us again, but because we were there for the 2 months without any salary.
The reprieve lasted until August, when Tommy's finally exited. By this time, all the stakeholders had long left the building.
Then all of a sudden, a week after that, they just come and shut down. We must just leave. I have put the guys on leave for a week, but then Thursday they come in and they shut us down. Nobody needs to be there. I don't know how and how come.
In early September, Chief Director Fortuin and the Deputy Minister of Rural Development, SABC, visited the abattoir, and the workers finally had their chance to be heard.
I did ask her straight why they did shut us out, and I asked her why didn't they come to talk to us from the 2 years. In that time, why they didn't come and talk to us and tell us the situation.
And what was her answer?
Yes, she couldn't answer me on that.
So who ultimately stood to benefit most from the purchase of this failed project? What is certain is that those who deserved to gain the most did not benefit at all.
If this government really want to empower us, they would have do this thing in the right manner at the first time, you see.
Special Assignment has sent repeated requests and detailed questions to both the provincial and national offices of the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development. We are still awaiting a response.